Yeah, you just gotta wait for it. This is guerrilla style.
Mobile! Knuckle up mobile! You are now about to witness the awesome, crushing might. I can't do this shit when I'm driving. Let me hold on now. Of! If I pass out the wheel, I end up with George Michael. Almost! Almost dizzy. Now I can drive, but I gotta fade out the music when I drive, right? And it's not that easy to do. I don't know if this computer is gonna work. It's doing this weird freezing up thing. So it's like stop action animation. It's like a Belle Biv DeVoe video. That girl is poison. Yes, Slappy's not with me. That's the last thing I need really to get stopped by a cop. What are you doing? Happened to Oxbow when we were driving across country. Cop stops us. What are you doing? Laptop was on the dashboard. Nothing. So you can't be watching a movie when you're driving. He's not watching the movie. I am. Yeah, but in the front seat, he's looking at it. I go, no, he's listening to it because he's coming through the car stereo system. He goes, look. You gotta put it in the rear of the driver. I go, is that a law? He goes, well, yeah, well. I go, well, it's binary. It's either a law, it's not a law. He goes, it's just good sense. I go, so you're stopping me for sense reasons. So when you weren't even driving, I'm not stopping you. I go, and yet I'm in the vehicle. And it's like, you know what? I'm on my way back to nowhere. I'm taking a real good look at you. I'm taking a real good look at your face. Let me try to fix this. So you're not sorry if this makes you kind of nauseous. It's just better than it's kind of weird, you know? You all tilted, like I'm trying to make some kind of art film, which in the old days used to be slang for porno. All right, so here we go. We got to my favorite line, which is I'm taking a real good look at your face. I'm liking having it a little bit in the background, so it's not completely. But I don't know with road noise that it's not gonna be kind of disruptive. How about we just fucking can it for today, so we can go full mobile. Sorry, there you go. Those of you, that's from Calling of the Just, Stigmata, All of Nothing was the name of the song. Anyway, you are at round number 202. I don't know. I'm disconnected from the internet, man. I'm like fucking Roger Daltrey. I was fighting a guy today, and he's like, I'm like Roger Daltrey, as I go for a fucking pinion armbar on him. And he's like, I go, what are you talking about? He goes, won't get fooled again. I'm like, oh, yes, you will. I've started to do a courtesy of Benji Silva, who's been on this show and has won plenty of fights, took a silver in the world after fighting like 18 times. But the one show that he was on was right before his Dragon House fight. We bought tickets to go because we wanted to support local fighters, and the guy never showed up. So I haven't had him on the show. I said, now you're post facto. But he was doing this completely hilarious thing, which I'm going to start doing every time. Color commenting his own fight. I picked up on it right away. We start going, I sweep him, and on top of him, I'm going, it's a Cinderella story. Eugene Robinson. You know, MMA legend, Eugene Robinson, reverses the young upstart Silva. You know, takes over, and you just start calling. I mean, the thing is, if you can keep up a happy patter, you know, happy rapper patter, if you can keep that going for a while, you'll be okay, you know. I mean, because it fucks with the other guys. What do you think that Nick and Nate Diaz do when they're do you want to know what they're saying? They don't know what they're saying, and it doesn't matter what they're saying, because the reality of it is, whatever they're saying is designed for one reason and one reason only: shake you out of your game. That's it. You know, whether it's the mugging, the street shit, the face in the face, whatever. All of a sudden, you're paying attention to everything but boom, you're hit. Boom. It's an effective fight technique. Keep in mind, forget about the fact that it might be just a way of doing business in the 209. Now they're coming up with all these names. It's called a Stockton slap. Good one, Goldberg. Nice thinking on your feet. I mean, I'm actually saying that sarcastically, but I sort of actually do. Hey, what's happening? I do really mean it. Stockton slap, good one. Alliteration, good. But the whole shtick from top to bottom is actually fairly inventive, and it serves a fight purpose. If it didn't serve a fight purpose, they wouldn't keep doing it. You know? I mean, King Mo is now having regrets about coming into the ring with a crown on and a fur coat and having like 4 or 5, ring sluts with him. He's like, well, maybe I should tone down my presentation. Well, it's good theater, but, yeah. I'm not getting excited about seeing King Mo fight because he's got 4 strippers ushering him into the cage. It's not what excites me about King Mo. Actually, nothing excites me about King Mo. Except the fact that now he's training with Leopoldo Serral, my coach, and so I like the fact that the guy is somehow wised up to the submission game. But he's an AKA fighter. He's a local guy. I don't like his whole shtick. I don't like it. I mean, Tyrone Woodley, I like his shtick a little bit better, but Tyrone Woodley fights really boring fucking fights. And he is he is what used to be wrong about wrestlers fighting in the UFC. I guess some could say he's what's wrong with George St. Pierre. The sun had just been fucking over here. I'm not stopping the show because of reasons of sun. Sorry. I can't really look at you all the time anyway for fear that I crash this car. I'm behind a safety clean truck right now. I go a little slower. What is that? What is it? What? Shadow. You just have to deal with it. Chiaroscuro. It'll be like Di Chirico, the famous painting. I have to get behind the safety clean truck. So, and it's going to be dark soon because it's the end of the day. What's happening with this heat? It's burning my eyes out. So, all of this serves a fight purpose, except for coming into the ring in a crown and a fur coat. And you know what? Let me tell you something. It's cool when Slick Rick does it. It's not so cool when King Mo does it. I know this is his nickname, King Mo. I'm surprised nobody has gone the whole hog there and said King Homo. Ho, King Mo. I mean King Homo, or some play on. But I don't. It seems like a weird boxing holdover to me. Up to the fact that the guy is, I don't know, man. I just hate to see people niggering it up. That's what some guy came to an Oxbow show in Maine and said, I feel like I was at a slave auction. Some light-skinned cat. I'm like, he didn't give me advice about racial deportment. Fuck what you think. But it's just, for example, Rashad Evans is trying to play against type by coming to the fights in his nice suit, and he's well spoken, and he's look, you're a fighter, Rashad. I don't need you to be fucking Obama. You know who pulled it off? Let me tell you who pulled it off with fucking panache. Let me tell you who pulled it off, purple hat and fucking fur coat and all. Shoney Carter. Shoney Carter pulled it off. And he was as articulate as a day is long, and he came in. It's like, I like that dandy stuff. I like that whole Slick Rick stuff. It wasn't like, Didn't seem minstrelly to me. It didn't seem minstrelly to me. You know? This is a mistake people make. Oxbow is like, oh, he's a naked Negro on the stage, naked. You know, there's not a lot of stuff that's laugh-worthy that's happening at an Oxbow show, even if I'm laughing. You know, even if I'm laughing, people are still eyeing the exits because at an Oxbow show, it's anything can happen day. Only in their minds. In my mind, it's not anything can happen day. You know, like Aesop Decker came on the show. I knew something bad was going to happen to me, he said. Could that have been because you were sitting on the fucking stage looking at me? Me anticipating that we're just a few minutes away from you taking out your cell phone and start texting on stage? The fuck are you trying to do? Or that guy who I ran into recently at an Oxbow show up in Seattle, the promoter. He goes, I used to be a promoter in San Francisco. Really? He goes, yeah, I promoted one of your shows once. I go, really? Which one? He goes, Brave New World. I said, Christmas week. He goes, no shit, you remember that? Sure I do. That's when I attacked the guy in the bathroom. He goes, oh my God, you do remember it. Yeah, of course. I don't attack a lot of audience members in the bathroom. The stage at Brave New World in San Francisco near Divisadero, the bathroom was on, as I'm looking out into the audience, was on stage right. This guy worked there. He kept going back and forth to the bathroom. I figure the guy's got diarrhea. In any case, I decide, you know what? He can take the long way around instead of walking back and forth across the stage like a sitting duck in a fucking amusement gallery. And I figure, you know, he's trying to send a message, if not to me, certainly to the audience. And I go, he does that one more time, I'm going to help him. And of course, as luck would have it, he does it one more time, and I jump on him. And at first, he's like thinking he's going to be funny by dragging me into the bathroom. And it was funny, because the mic cord was long enough, so into the bathroom I went. But it wasn't so funny when I turned the fucking light out. And it was even less funny when I started undoing his pants. You know? Number one slogan guiding Eugene Robinson's life. Look what you made me do. So I like that King Mo is working with Leopoldo Serral. I like that King Mo just won his last fight at Strikeforce this past weekend. These were what we call the Strikeforce desperation fights, which I talked about before. I'll go into a little bit more later. But I'm not so into I'm glad he's going to tone down his game. But Stockton slap, look, this segues nicely into where I was going with this to begin with. No digression here. Where I was going with this, the whole kerfuffle between BJ Penn and the Diaz's and Caesar. BJ Penn now, for those of you who have missed this, BJ Penn is now threatening to kick Caesar Gracie's ass next time he sees him. And everybody runs into everybody. You know, you guys who come to the shows, even me sitting in journalist row, you only see half the shit. There'll be in the hallways, or, you know, they have the backstage rooms and the ways to get to them in the hotels that mean that you don't have to deal with the audience, so that the performers can get to and from the stage without really interacting with too many people. These are the hallways. You can look up a drunken Don Fry getting his ass kicked in one of these hallways by a fan. Don Fry's a tough fucking guy. Not so tough when he's drunk. Maybe that's what the genius behind Eddie Bravo's. Eddie Bravo's pretty funny. I'm finding out about Eddie Bravo. Like, he's got this guy Ramon Lagusta, whatever the guy's name is. Some guy he hired to harass Joe Rogan, one of his students. So his job is pretty much to go any place that Joe Rogan is making personal appearances and ask weirdly jiu-jitsu centric questions. Finally, I think Joe Rogan at this point has figured out that it's a fucking joke. You know, it's like Baba Booey or some shit like that, which I don't even know how I pulled that out of my ass. I think I listened to Howard Stern once, or watched him once. I just haven't thought he was funny. But he had Minnie Driver on, and he was coming on the Minnie Driver so fucking hard on the air. He really reached that fucking shadowy zone of uncomfortability. And I was like, it was genius. I was fixated. He's like, you're hot. He goes, oh, thank you, Howard. He's like, I'm not kidding. You're hot. Like me and you, we should be together. And she's like, oh, Howard. He goes, you know I'm hung like a peanut, but I could satisfy you other ways. And he just kept on. It was like when who was that guy, the bald-headed Canadian, Paul Schaefer, on David Letterman back when Whitney Houston, before she was a crackhead, having drug problems. When she was a pretty young thing, Paul Schaefer was just, I guess he figured, fuck it. This guy like nodding hello to people and sees Nick as, hey Nick, and Nick is just looking at him. Nick is like, I'm not fucking around. I lived in my car to do this. I dropped out of high school to do this. It's my life. Gotta respect that. So Nick puts his head down and puts his head to BJ's head, and BJ pushes him, and they back up, and Dana stops and jumps in the middle. A little bit pre-fight clown fever. Okay, Eddie Goldman is all pissed off because he thinks that this lowers the quality of the engagement. It's clever and it's Machiavellian, and I love Nick for doing it. I love Nate for slapping off Chironi's hat, and it got in Chironi's head, and he beat the fuck out of Chironi. Look at that woman picking her fucking nose. Yeah, everybody picks their nose, but I can see you. She's still picking her nose. You do a little discreet thing. Have a little class, please. Yes. The coarsening of the public spaces. And first it starts with people walking along with coffee cups and chewing gum and smoking cigarettes in public. Then next thing you know, it's a guy sitting naked on the sink at Gold's Gym, popping zits on his ass in the mirror. That happened. That's why I don't go into the men's room in the Gold's Gym anymore. It's rare for me to go into a men's room anywhere. Fucking hate it. Guys are always doing some creepy shit in there. I told one of the guys in my fight team that. He goes, hey, you act like you're a 15-year-old girl. Who's going to be bothering you? You don't understand. It's a taste issue. I don't have romantic dinners at the proctology clinic. It's a taste issue. So that number one was the BJ thing. yeah. Got an ingrown hair there. How do you like that for hypocrisy? So number two, after was between rounds, they use video footage. They break them up, go back to your corners, and Nick kind of shoulder bumps BJ Penn. This was disrespectful, BJ Penn. After the fight was over, BJ Penn is screaming at, Nick is screaming at BJ Penn's striking coach. Some shit about, I won that shit. I won that shit. It wasn't a knockout. It was a decision. Guy has to say stuff like that after this. I'm not being a nut jumping apologist. I'm just not seeing that there's validity to any of these points. Okay, the third thing was that he was a bigger, heavier fighter, and he held him up against the cage and tired BJ Penn out. Do some cardio, bitch. He weighed in at 170. Nick has a 40-pound variance in what he fights on any given day. You might watch him walking around at 210. He dropped down to 170. You were 169. Don't be complaining about that. Don't take the fight. And there was one other thing he had on his list about how he was disrespected. Now he's gone on his Twitter account. He's complaining. You know what? There's no rematch. There's no fucking rematch. And this reminds me of a story that involved a friend of mine, sports agent extraordinaire, Salvatore Russo, who had some kind of foursome, and his girlfriend at the time did not want to have sex with the guy of the couple because he had a small peepee. And so she's crying, and then the couple leaves, and the guy is crying, and the guy's wife, who's already had sex with sports agent extraordinaire Sal Russo, she's crying, and he goes out front to talk to the guy, say, sit on the car. And the guy's like, well, this is supposed to be a foursome, and You know, you fucked my wife, and you know, she won't. It's not my fault you have a tiny pee-pee. Well, yeah, that's her point of view, and now, and then finally he says, "What? You want me to fuck you? What do you? How do you expect there to be redress? There will be no redress here. There is no redress. There's no redress. Does BJ Penn think that a rematch with an angry Nick Diaz, is going to go any other way? It's not. It is not. So now he's reduced to threatening Cesar Gracie, a man who's had exactly one professional fight. Come on, man. Come on. Make me feel like an asshole. I mean, it's so much nicer when guys you hate end up being guys that you're fairly impressed with. Chael Sonnen being one of them. Then the other way around, where guys you like end up being tools. Disappointing. Look at this motherfucker. I'm driving, so that happens. So anyway, so that's what's happening with that kerfuffle. But this recent Strike Force was the fight of desperation, because everybody on the card, if they don't know, now they know that what they're fighting for is essentially a way to get out of the gutter. Yeah, you saw what the UFC did to Pride. You saw what the UFC did to the WEC. You know, and you can feel what's happening in the short term with the UFC and Strike Force. They've got a contract and obligations and deals with Strike Force, but they're winnowing away. Christine Cyborg Santos gets busted for steroids. Come on, man. I'm starting to think fucking Assad is doing the right thing in Syria when I see all these people who are surprised and shocked. When I see all these people who are surprised and shocked that Christine Cyborg Santos was taking steroids, I see people who should not be allowed the democratic right for free assembly and voting because they're too fucking stupid. Yeah, didn't I put that picture out somewhere, hanging out with me with Christine Cyborg? You know, she put a dress on and stuff, man, but I'm not saying it's like, if Gil Melendez put a dress on, if Gil Melendez was to put a dress on, but, and it's not, she hangs out with dudes, all the time. I'm talking about the chemical composition of her body being altered so that when you are around her, the pheromones that she gives off are not at all in the slightest bit feminine. If you put a blindfold on and we're about to do a taste test, what they don't know is that we've switched their Folger chips, Folger, Folger, coffee beans, whatever. She's taking enough steroids, so this is not an issue. So she gets popped. She's probably sitting around going, fuck it. I took a supplement and it ended up having stanozol in it. Stanozol, that's the chemical name for Winstrol. The only fucking substance that you could have taken that you thought was Winstrol was fucking Armorol. As evidenced by the article I wrote where some guys decided, hey, I'm going to sell some cut rate sell some cut rate Winstrol, and they got Armorol, which is a milky looking substance, which, is what Winstrol looks like, if you must know. I mean, I've heard. This is what Winstrol looks like. So, and they sold it to some kids who injected Armorol, what they thought was Winstrol, into their buttocks. Instantaneously gangrene set in, and they had to have their buttocks surgically removed, making them true half-asses. It's not fucking funny. It is kind of funny, but it's not really funny. Fuck a guy. You get a prosthesis for that to create a new ass. How do you like that? I have to create a new ass. My old ass is gone. Doesn't look so cool at the beach or in a pair of pants. So much for Body Beautiful. So she gets busted. What does this mean? You don't even know. It's like when Ted Kennedy dies. What did that mean for Obama's health plan? It means that we have to listen to people who need health care whine about how they don't want to pay for the health care. Mark Schultz was recently, people on his Facebook page complained about Obamacare. Mark Schultz, who recently had to teach 2 months of seminars for free to get paid back, to pay the doctor for some neck surgery. That's like Michelle Bachmann saying that you should be able to barter for your surgery with fucking game hens. I'm not making that shit up. A candidate for the President of the United States of America said that you should be able to pay for your surgery using farm fowl, chickens, and eggs. You gotta be fucking kidding me. I'm gonna pull over a bit and finish the show in style. Because I have to last to the fading light, and I want to adjust the laptop, which is heating up where it was. Put the car in the park. Maybe we'll be lucky enough and a cop will come along. Hey man, you're on my show. So she gets busted. Let me see if I can get any Wi-Fi here. That would be nice. Oh yeah. GuestNet. Somebody was foolish enough to leave GuestNet open. Foolish enough. Well, I don't have the design chops to do anything else. But anyway, so Christine Cyborg, so with like Ted Kennedy dying and throwing the Obamacare into disarray, the Obama healthcare. I won't even use their make-believe term Obamacare. I just call it a healthcare program for all Americans into disarray. Christine Cyborg who was the only really bankable fighter who could compete on a level that made you think like, yeah, women's MMA, yeah. And Ronda Rousey and some of these other, Ronda Rousey said something interesting. She goes, I knew she was dirty. Everybody with eyes knew she was dirty. I'm sad that she got kicked out because I wanted to fight her to show that I could beat her whether she was dirty or clean. But at the same time, I'm happy that she got kicked out for being dirty. But, rather than saying, okay, we have a look, Chris Lieben gets fucking popped for OxyContin. It's not like you did that whole, Dana White is killing her invalidating her recent win, killing her whole division. That's it. He hasn't liked women's MMA. The computer is crooked. He hasn't liked women's MMA. No, he has not. And now she's provided with him. She's only been fined $2,500. But she has been banned for a year. A year. And, of course, everybody's going to be, a guy doesn't take, Tim Sylvia stops taking steroids, he comes back and fights. Hey, whatever. Tim Sylvia, whatever. She'll be a different fighter, not on the shit for a year. People are saying she's going to do growth hormone. Growth hormone won't do anything but make her uglier than she is. I don't mean she's ugly. Uglier than she is. No, that makes it sound like she's ugly. It will make her ugly. Look at Mickey Rourke, who used to be all fine-boned. He was like, oh yeah, it's the plastic surgery from when I was boxing. Yeah, you look at Floyd Mayweather Jr., tell me if he looks damaged from the boxing, and he's a defensive fighter. It's because he was taking growth hormone. All these guys are taking it. Most of the guys, they said, what distinguishes actors in Hollywood from normal people? Actors in Hollywood are distinguished because, why? Their heads are large. I don't mean they have big egos. I mean their heads are physically large. You look at somebody like Tito, who's got the biggest head of any human I've ever seen. He's designed for stardom. I feel nauseous. How you doing, Eugene? How you doing? I wish I had Slappy here to explain things to you. How am I doing? I'm not doing well. No, I'm not doing well. I'm feeling peaked. I got some weird sinus infection, but taking shots to the head. I'm feeling crazy. If you must know. But there's good stuff on the horizon, my friend. I hate to be what Matt Fury used to call pop-off, mess-up man, but I think I can tell you here for the first time. For the first time, you can hear it from me. I hate, you know what? It's like stuff in public. I hate when the cord makes the lines in your hood. Like this with the male guys over here watching me. Like that. But I hate to be pop off mess up man is a guy who tells you about all this cool shit that's gonna happen and it never happens. And then superstitiously he hates to mention this shit because then it screws it up, right? I don't want to be pop off mess up man, but I think it's okay for me to reveal here, and this is a fucking true exclusive. There is only one other person that knows about this. And this is outside of the people putting it together, sports agent extraordinaire Salvatore Russo. There's a production company in LA that's approached me about doing a fight TV show. It's about goddamn time. And they were like, well, first they said, well, we only want the rights to it. I was like, fine, you got them. He said, we'll give you some nominal fee. Then they talked to this hotshot writer they have. And the hotshot writer says, yeah, I like the story, but it seems pretty integral to the story, the Eugene Robinson guy. Do you think he would host it? So they come back to me and said, what do you think? Would you be willing to host it? And I said, well, let me think. Yes. Let me consider. Yeah, yes. Well, let me talk. Yes. So they're going to come up. I was just reading a text. My phone is here. I was just reading a text where they say they're going to come up and well, what do they say? I'll tell you what they say. Either beginning of next week or end of next week. We'll know tonight. So TV show could be in the happening. It'd be very nice. Very nice. There's another guy who approached us about a TV show called, what's happening with the mustache? Called Grumbles, which is more of a comedy straight thing. The mustache is messed up here. No, that's all right. No, vanity rears its ugly head. So I'm shaving with a shaky hand. Whatever. There you go. Where's Popeye? Popeye's been banned from the car because he keeps chewing the car up. So he is now a housebound dog, and if he fucks up the yard, he'll be a crate-bound dog. What I feel so bad is the dog that I had before him would have killed for the life. This is the way it is in life. So these people are coming up to film a pilot or talk to me about this TV show, and so I'm trying to hold it together. I'm trying to hold it together until then. We'll see. In any case, back to Christine Cyborg Santos and her steroid thing. We'll see what kind of fighter. People are saying that she's going to come back GBH to get the edge. Let me tell you something. GBH is not the answer to her problems. It is not the answer to her problems. So, I mean, Andre the Giant wasn't that strong. It'll result in her head getting bigger, her chin, her forehead. Somebody said in a review of some stuff I did, it said you can see by Eugene's jaw and his head and neck that he's a fighter. How can you see that? Look, I've got a very nice svelte neck. Remember the angular jaw, you know. Remember that night. Why don't you, if anything should happen to my son, trip in the street or get struck by a streetcar, I'd have to take revenge on all of you. I've only done Marlon Brando impressions on this show, and they're mediocre at that. In any case, so Christine Cyborg Santos is gone. Her entire division has been shut down. Her last win against a Japanese chick, invalidated. Sucks. Women's MMA is fucking cool. I mean, the things that you're missing with there's some great video footage of Gina Carano in one of her fights. I can't remember who she's fighting, maybe Jan Finney or something. And they're at the weigh-in, and they're standing and facing each other where they're supposed to be looking at each other kind of fierce. And they both start like laughing and giggling, and it's a nice kind of cool girly moment. And I talk to other fighters, and they go, I can't take those things seriously. When I'm looking in the stare down, I really want to start laughing. Nick Diaz would never say that because he dropped out of high school and lived in his car. This makes a big difference to a man. But others most clearly would. So anyway, let me see if I can get sports agent extraordinaire Salvatore Russo on the phone. I told him that we were going to get him into the show. And now that I don't have road noise, I think I can pull this complicated maneuver of getting him through the sound system here. See if we can get him in. No, this is like Knuckle Up Mobile. Plus, I got this. Look, we're doing it all. Just because I'm doing it from the front seat of the car doesn't mean anything. I do lots of things from the front seat of a car. You want to know what?
Your call has been forwarded.
Look at that. Come on. Come on. Don't do this to me. He hates MMA now. That's why I want to get him into the show. So I'll just say call me. Get him on the air. So anyway, so I call this strike force the desperation thing because nobody wants to be left. It's a ship of fools. It's a ship of the damned. It's a tanker full of Jews trying to find a place to go during Nazi Germany and being rejected at every port, which happened. Luke Rockhold, every time I'm over at AKA, I see Luke Rockhold around there, and they treat him like dirt. He's a guy, he's like Cinderella. He is really like Cinderella. He's one of the only people at AKA that's got a belt left, and I'm wondering, I haven't been there for a while, I wonder if they still treat him like dirt. Somebody told me something interesting about the management structure there, that Javier Mendez, who's a friend of Knuckle Up, is not any managerial type, is just a gym owner. Bob Cook, Dave Camarillo, and Mike Kogan form the management team. Mike Kogan is a guy he walked King Mo in, he reps King Mo. He is a purple belt under Sorrel. Jewish guy. Yeah. I'm only saying that he's a Jewish guy because he told me, what are you doing wearing that Star of David? I go, could be that I'm Jewish. What's it to you? What are you, a Jew hater? And he's like, no, I'm Jewish. Oh. So I suppose you own the franchise on Judaism. How many times you been to Israel? Yeah, exactly. Anyway, Kogan's a manager. Is this Russo? And Kogan's a manager. And he was there. I could ask him, but I'm getting interesting things. But in any case, everybody wants to get off this strike force ship, and they ask him, said, okay, so Luke, you cleared out your entire division here. What about Tim Kennedy? And he's like, Luke's a smart guy. I really like him. He's got this hangdog. He's got matinee idol looks, but he's got this hangdog kind of self-effaced. He's like a Ed Burns, MMA Ed Burns. I don't even really know who Ed Burns is, but I think it's the same kind of guy. And what he's saying is, if I'm thinking about this. The fight begins when you agree to fight. All of it's fight after that. So do you want to fight Tim Kennedy? Well, he's got nothing to win. He loses to Tim Kennedy. He loses his belt, and he's stuck in strike force. He says, my sights are set. He doesn't want to appear disloyal. My sights are set on the guys in the UFC. And he says something that's pretty revolutionary. He says, I'd like to see some of those guys come in here and test me for my strap. Which was the first public voicing of this idea between the NFC and the AFC, with the UFC and Strikeforce as covalent productions. It's not going to happen. But it was an interesting way for him to say, rather than him being thrown into the UFC 375 fighter pig pile, and fighting just some undistinguished fight. I'm the belt holder at Strikeforce. I want to hold on to my belt, but I don't want to fight a Tim Kennedy and lose it here or look bad here when I know there's UFC money right around the corner. Fuck you. Don't want to be that guy left out in the rain. I want to go outside in the rain. I started doing my falsetto once with some chick. She's like, don't do it. Stop that. Fuck you. I don't like my falsetto. I should have stopped the car and put her out. So, but all the other fights, I wanted to see these guys fight with some sort of urgency. James Terry, friend of Knuckle Up. Love James Terry. He fought this guy in the Sean something or other. And James Terry's like, I lost this. James Terry, you fucked yourself, my friend. I want to have him on the show and give him the straight scoop. I don't know that I can do that to a friend. I should have him on and talk to him about it. But Kung Lee's fighters don't fight. They spar. They have sparitis.
all that shit when there's a good exchange, giving the guy the high five. You need a little bit of the Stockton 209 thing. No, Stockton's one of the most depressed places in California. Nobody who's in Stockton likes being in Stockton. They fucking hate it. And part of hating it is the fact that they don't get any respect for being from there. You know, they're fighting a lot of stuff other than just a fight. They're not high-fiving each other between, oh, good exchange. James Terry fights hard 2 rounds, but they were close rounds, and then dogs it for the 3rd round because he's doing some math. Some magical math. You know what that magical math does? It fucks you in the ass. And that's what the magical math, and I don't mean in the good way. I mean the sudden, dark, midnight alley way. Well, to some people that's a good way too, but you know what I'm saying? So now he's losing. He goes, all my fans, we know we won the fight. You know what? You're done. This is the sad, sad fact. The guys who did not win this weekend at Strikeforce on Showtime will be not making any appearances in the UFC. It is merciless. Merciless. It's how I figured out that I can't be an editor-in-chief anymore. If you're just an editor-in-chief and not owning an operating stake in what you're doing, you might as well be sweeping the building. You put your hard sweat equity in building a magazine up from scratch, you don't own an equity stake. Easiest way to own an equity stake, not being an editor-in-chief, is being in publishing. On the publication side, on the business side. Forget it. These guys will have you... Look, it's the sausages on the plates. It's the cakes. I'm not so good at math, but I know if there are 20 cakes and you take 20 cakes, I don't have a cake. So the guys who came up short this last Strikeforce, you don't have any more cake. There's no more cake for you. You were cake free. You were cakeless. You know? So, oh man, I feel sick. Have I told you about my bleeding colon? Nope. Haven't told you about the bleeding colon, and I won't actually talk about the bleeding colon. I want to blame it on United Airlines, but I can't do that. One of these days, I'm gonna keel over dead, and all I ask from you is that you avenge my death. So I had a whole bunch of stuff in the mailbag. Readers from Sweden holding forth about how they love GSP. You know, I don't want to be... I used to be a GSP fan. I don't really feel a need to talk to GSP about GSP until August of 2012, so I won't. Despite being goaded into it. Somebody was talking about Jake Shields. About how Jake Shields, another friend of Knuckle Up, has squandered. You know, squandered an entire brand. American Jiu-Jitsu. Somebody complained in the mailbag about Clyde Gentry, talking about the rise of American MMA. You know, people want to talk shit about Clyde Gentry. As far as I'm concerned, Clyde Gentry is a guy in a hole. If I want to talk shit about anybody who's written a fight book, I'm going to talk shit about Sam Sheridan. He wrote one fight book and then wrote another fight book. It's the same fucking fight book. Everybody loves this. Oh, he's an intellectual and he fights. What that means is we look at him and we don't see a fighter and he does something like fighting. It's unexpected. Which really means I should have become an astrophysicist. Because that's not what people see when they see me. Play against type, get rich. Yeah, whatever. So no Slappy this week. Popeye's on punishment for tearing up the fucking car. I was at the shop. Don't make fun of me over this fucking car. Not the car I'm driving, sitting in right now. The 65 fucking Chevy. Oh, you've been talking about that car for 15 years. You've been talking about that. Fuck you. That car is a divining rod. If you've not been asked to ride in the car, if you do not see an invitation to ride in the car forthcoming, you have learned everything you need to know about your relationship with me. Popeye won't even ride in the 65 because I know our relationship can't support him fucking up the car. No one will be able to drive the car outside of me. Nobody. Because if there's so much as a scratch, I would have to take revenge against all of you. So, I can't eat, I can't sleep, can't stop thinking about MMA. Fighting 7-8 times a week. My arm is still kind of gamey, but I got some more IBJJF fights coming up. I've been promised if I return to the Worlds again this year, November of 2012, and win, I will get my purple belt. I don't care so much about the purple belt. I care about going back there and doing what I should have done this year. Crush! Which I will. There's a UFC coming up this weekend. I don't have the internet, so I can't really track it. I know it's Jose Aldo. It's my pick. Can't think of who else is on the card, but that's all that matters. I'm not being a Brazilian nut jumper, but there's no way, there's no human earthly way that Chad Mendes is going into Brazil and beating Jose Aldo. He's not like Mark Hominick. You know, Brazilians don't feel that way about their native country where, you know, Mark Hominick loses in the first 9 seconds because he's thinking about his mother, if her seat's okay, and he's worried about his father. He's got some high school friends showing up, and all the girls that ever fucked him over are sitting there, and he's like, all these things he's dealing with. No, Brazilian culture is very supportive. Everybody in that fucking country wants this guy to win. Mendes will have to murder him to keep him from winning. It's going to be a fantastic... I don't even need to talk about any fights on the card. The UFC this weekend. I don't even have to talk about any other fights on the card because this fight will be well worth the price of admission. I've been sitting in a running car with the windows closed for about 20 minutes now. I open the window just a crack. It could be why I'm feeling not so good. So it's going to be Jose Aldo. Bank on it, live it, and love it. It's going to happen. What else? What other good things have happened to me? Look at that guy behind me. Look at that guy. You don't think I don't see you? Well, I made it through Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. What I always say, if you can make it past a terrible 4, your relationship will be safe for another year. If you're out there and you have a relationship and you're watching this show, all you got to do is make it through Valentine's Day. And then you could cruise into November. I'm not fucking kidding you. These holidays force a re-examination of your relationship that some relationships will not fucking make it out of. Go back through your relationship history and take a look at it. When have your relationships broken up? The vast preponderance of my relationships have bitten the dust Thanksgiving. In that time period, people are thinking comfortable thoughts, which means I've been hanging out with American bitches. I'm hanging out with American bitches. Then Thanksgiving is less important. Then your relationships end when? Christmas, New Year's. Because Thanksgiving is an American holiday. Pretty much, if you manage to make it, you could emerge from New Year's wounded mortally. And all you need coming up, you need Valentine's Day just coming up. people, do I really want to tell these lies? There is nothing worse than having to say something you don't mean. And there is nothing worse when you're with somebody who doesn't say something that they don't mean. You know, everybody likes to know that they're appreciated, but you can't, what can you do? Anyway, you won't get any relationship advice. I'm no Frank Trigg. Frank Trigg is giving a relationship advice. Do you realize this? Last time I saw Frank Trigg, he was in a hotel room with John LaFleur, also known as Vince Voyeur from Red Light District Films. I don't want to say he was in the room with a bunch of porn star chicks, because I don't know that they were in porn, or that they were stars, or that they were even chicks. I'm just saying, Frank Trigg giving relationship advice is like going to me to ask me to take care of your teeth. I got nice teeth, but I can't help you with your teeth. Even though home dentistry, why not? The fuck those guys have on me? Come to me, I'll clean your fucking teeth for you. I got eyes, I got the tools. Don't ask me how I got the tools. Anyway, I don't have any fucking bell. I'm not going to beep the horn because I'm in some residential district because I had to pull off the road. Traffic was getting bad anyway. I couldn't concentrate. So that's some version of Knuckle Up. This is 202. This is EUGENE S. Robinson. S stands for Slappy. Some people didn't like Slappy. I love Slappy. Makes me very sad when people don't like Slappy. Slappy never did anything to you. Slappy does nothing but give and give and give. And all you do is take. Slappy will be... Actually, now that Popeye is banned from this car, I'm going to start taking Slappy with me. I need to practice on your ventriloquism. It's tough to do. What tells how to it is not so much the words, it's coming up with, oi, he's coming up with an accent that works. Fuck it. Anyway, let me tell you about the calendar. Those of you who have managed to actually watch a show this long, I never talk about it really. I'm on tour with Scott Kelly, February 15th to March 10th, all over America. If you can be there, show up. If you are a fighter, you can go to my Facebook page and you see the schedule. If you are a fighter in any of those towns, you're on the list. You text me, you're on the list. Send me an email, you're on the list. I will quiz you about shit so I know you're not dogging it, just trying to save on $5 or $10. Also, I'd like to train. I can't go for that period of time without training. So we'll do shows from the locales, and I want to do some training on the road. So look at the schedule. If you're in one of these cities and you see I'm going to do a show, email me, text me. I'll put you on the list, and then invite me out to your place. We'll roll, do some fighting, interview some guys there, put it on the air. I'll have the laptop with me. Anyway, the batteries are about to run down. So this has been Knuckle Up. I'm your host, EUGENE S. Robinson. I got no bell today. I'm like the little drummer boy. All I got is this song. Maybe tonight I'll get some sleep. Maybe tonight I won't. Anyway, thanks for listening. Jose Aldo, bet the house on it. We'll see you next week.